I had to be at the first conference in Austin that time, and if you see how the community grows until now, it's really great. And even people flying in from Australia, flying in from Europe as well, so that's really great. So my name is Ronald van Kleunen. I'm based in Singapore, in Asia. So I also flew along into here for this conference and to do some training. But I'm going to do a talk about wireless service and security standardization, and I see there is kind of a need for that in the market. Now, if you look to high-density environments and moving crowds, so I take some examples in Asia, like the high-density type of cities. There are around 10 million, 60 million people in a city like Shanghai or Bangkok or Singapore. So there's quite a lot of people, but it is moving crowd. And they also take care of, they also take their wireless devices along. So they start to propagate, and if they need to connect to public Wi-Fi networks, that's going to give issues with the availability of that wireless network. And currently there are some projects going on with train environments, for example, where you have mass rapid train systems, where two trains come together with 1,000 people in each train. People are standing on the platforms, very close, shoulder to shoulder together, and they need to get access to the Wi-Fi network. And the next train comes 2 minutes later. So there are a lot of devices which need to communicate. Okay, and also in this room, you're all kind of Wi-Fi geeks, so I'm sure you have a lot of devices in your pocket as well, at your home. And if you live in a kind of an apartment type of environment, all those devices need to, they start to interfere with each other. So you can imagine like apartment blocks like 30 stories high, that all those devices interfere. Okay, so that is high density environment. But there is also another side, non-high density environment. So you can think about rural areas, and there are still 2 billion people. They live in developing countries, and they maybe don't have Wi-Fi access at all. So you go to the rural areas in Asia, and you don't see any Wi-Fi signal. But those people need to be connected. And the fastest way to connect those people is using a wireless network. So you can think about Burma, Myanmar. I take that always as an example, because that is a developing country. There is not even a backbone, not a cable backbone. So we need to set up a wireless pipe to also provide wireless access to those persons, so that they have ICT connectivity, and same in African countries. Now, so the facts you can find it back from the ITU, the International Telecommunication Union. I don't know what Keith was doing at New Year's Eve, but this tweet came out at New Year's Eve, and he said there will be probably a lot of work for wireless LAN professionals, and it's all about wireless service availability, because if you look to this graphic, you see that a lot of people can actually not connect to the Wi-Fi network. And of course, you can go to my good friend Eddie here in the front, to his BedFi website, and that's one of the reasons why people cannot connect to the wireless network, because of maybe the installations are not done properly. So you see at airports, public Wi-Fi networks, in shopping malls, that people, they want to have access to the network. And during lunch, I was talking to someone that if you look to the future generations, they maybe don't know what the cable is, because they're so used to wireless, they expect that there is wireless. So we are kind of in this migration phase, moving from wire to wireless. But if you think maybe 10 years, 20 years around the road, maybe it is all wireless communication, and then it becomes business critical or mission critical to make use of those different type of services. So we expect service availability and security, but also for other wireless services that need to integrate with Wi-Fi. So you can think about Internet of Things, IoT. Recently in Singapore, there was a big conference by the ITU, that is under the United Nations. There is a study group called Study Group 20, who's looking in all the IoT related standardization and techniques, because we want to build smart cities and smart nations. We look in Bluetooth low energy kind of systems, which now get integrated into Wi-Fi networks. You read in the Twitters and in the news Halo, which is going to make use of a different frequency, 900 megahertz. LTE is coming into the 5 gigahertz spectrum. So how is it all going to operate and going to work to make a good service to the end users? Seamless roaming, that could be an issue. Location-based services. Security-wise, there are also a lot of things to take care of. So Singapore is one of the first countries which had 3-year penalties for people misusing the wireless network. That happened in 2006. So there is a Telecommunication Act and a Computer Misuse Act. And in the last security training, we showed a video that actually a person got charged for 20,000 Singapore dollars by misusing or tapping on someone else's network. So you can see that also governments and regulators are looking into what needs to be in place to manage the wireless network and the security end-to-end. So how can actually the wireless industry have better designs, and how can we implement it better? Okay, so actually how do we achieve better wireless service management and better wireless security management? So you see here a picture that is in Bangkok, in one of the weekend markets. So there's a lot of people around that area, but you see there's actually no space apparently to mount the access points or to mount all the other equipment. And you see quite often I send pictures to Eddie, and Eddie puts this nicely on his bad Wi-Fi site from, oh God, what do we have here again installed? So there is a lot of education needed, I think, a lot of training needed to see from how do we do a proper design. But who is accountable once it has been implemented and it doesn't work? Right? Is that the vendor? The Wi-Fi vendors, they make a lot of money, right? All the vendors in the room, they make a lot of money on selling those Wi-Fi devices, but it then gets implemented and the services don't work, or it is maybe not secure enough. So is the vendor, should they take part in that to get a better Wi-Fi design or not? The system integrators, are they responsible? The government, do they need to come into play to maybe put some standardization in place? Or is it the end user who is accountable? So, yeah, design reflects society because it depends on the country how they're going to implement different wireless networks. What can actually be the international organizations involved? So you have the ISO organizations, you have the ITU, the International Telecommunication Union. The Wireless Broadband Alliance has something in place, which is called a carrier-grade Wi-Fi network. Bixi, just recently, last month, they started to build their own wireless design standard for in-building wireless. People are free to join, but I'm not sure if that is the right organization to build a wireless design standard. So it could be even a combination of these organizations you see listed here. I don't know, honestly. One approach I could take is actually looking into the ISO standardization, because ISO has a standard called ISO 20000, which stands for IT service management. And here, I will not go into detail, but that is actually based on all kind of service management processes, how you do change management in your organization, how you do service level management in your organization, service level management reporting, and how do you actually manage your services end-to-end, plus how do you manage your security end-to-end as well. So another standard is ISO 27001. That is a security management standard which is growing rapidly. You can see the statistics in the US, in Europe, and in APAC. It grows exponentially. So you see how many organizations are adopting those standards. This is a slide I've shown before at another conference, because we need to do investments and people need to be trained at different levels. So the sales manager needs to be trained, who's selling all those wireless equipment to the end users. We need to have a wireless designer be involved, who talks together with the sales to the customer. We need to have people trained who do the installation, because typically one person designs it, another person installs it, and then it needs to be audited to make sure that we're following certain design standards and security standards. And then in the end we have the support group in the end who need to manage all the services 24/7. So like conferences like this are really great so that people get trained and educated, and we can share thoughts from how can we achieve this kind of better services and security standards. But it's not only technical, not only the Wi-Fi, but I also can see that legal, law enforcement organizations get involved. Building construction authorities, if you're going to build new buildings, a lot of cabling is done in the building, but typically the termination points are not at the location where the Wi-Fi networks need to be installed. So all those kind of industries need to come together. And that is different for different type of vertical markets. So this is one approach. I'm actually started already to do this, to align actually the wireless components to the security and to the service management. And I use actually the ISO framework, so the ISO 27001 for security and the ISO 20000 for ITSM. So it's still work in progress, but I'm trying to glue all the wireless components to those frameworks. And the reason for that is that those security frameworks get adopted in different industries worldwide, so that you get actually worldwide recognition. to implement those standards. So we actually maybe can piggyback rather than developing our own standard and trying to deploy that worldwide, because in the end it needs to be kind of globally accepted in the industry. So I have 17 seconds left. So this is my Twitter handle. It's at Globeron. That's how you can contact me. And I think more and more people need to be on Twitter, because Keith doesn't do any marketing via emails. He only does it via Twitter. And you see what he achieved. So thank you very much.